Well, Christmas has come early for this Colorado kid because I have 5 people sending me all sorts of resources from all over the world to review for you before the Christmas season. This being probably the most expensive one of all of them. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name, of course, is Chad, Sanchad. And this week, I'm so lucky I had someone who I guess wanted to remain nameless because it didn't come with the name, sent me Adventures in Japan Book 1 with a list price on Amazon of $60 per book, and there's 4 books in their beginner series. This is probably the most expensive textbook I have personally reviewed. Now, does this book stand out being $60 in value? Or are there just too many hands in the pots, too many dollars to split to sell it for what might be a more appropriate price? Why don't we jump into the review so you can see for yourself, is Adventures in Japanese 1 worth it for you? We are back at the hands-on review table to look at this kind of dirty used copy of Adventures in Japanese because I'm not spending $60 on a textbook review. So thank you, courtesy of Laredo Middle School Foreign Language Club, Program, Department. Either way, thank you so much. I'm pretty sure they did not donate this to me. I'm pretty sure somebody hijacked this from some middle school, never gave it back, and now it is mine to review. Adventures in Japanese 1 is part 1 of a 4-part series made by Hiromi Peterson and Naomi Hirano Omizo. I want to say Omizu so bad there. I have the 3rd edition with me here. I do not know if they've made any new ones since then, but let's dive in and see, is this used book, which by the way, again, do not judge this book on the quality of it. This was a school's copy. I'm sure it has stains and is used, but I still think it's worth checking out. So before I get any further, I would like to say, and as I always do, please, if you enjoyed this book, if this is something that you would like, please, please, please go consider purchasing it legally. I want to make sure that we can support every single person that adds anything to our language space in a legal way. In addition to that, I will not be going over every single chapter, showing you every single page. A, because that would be boring and most of these are kind of redundant. B, because I want you to not use my review to study from. So I'm only going to show what is absolutely necessary for you to learn from. I'll start by talking about the contents of the book. Adventures in Japanese, at least book 1 that I have here, has 16 chapters, pretty standard for most Japanese book. Genki has, I believe, 12 or 13, and I use Genki as my standard because that tends to be the most popular right now, at least. Of these 16 chapters, I went through all of them. They all have at least 7 sections, and this book also teaches 781 words and phrases, which is also pretty good. Genki does about 850 per book, so that's more or less the same. Now, obviously, this book has 4 books, and if it keeps up that pace throughout all of them, it will outpace Genki in terms of a beginner course, which is what this is. However, Genki's half the price, so, I mean, take it as you would. Now, for my research on this, scouring Reddit, it seems like these books are meant to be used in middle and high school Japanese courses, and so it's very much kind of attuned to those vocabulary words, you know, phrases you would use in a classroom, less about actually traveling and being inside of Japan. On top of that, the pace kind of reflects that. It seems like, from what I can tell, this book mostly is used for any student going through 4 years of Japanese, right? So your freshman year, you would do 1, by your senior year, you would finish 4, and thus by the time you finish high school, you would be in roughly N4 level, you know, kind of getting out of the beginner into the, you know, post-beginner intermediate era. And checking out what I can from even the other books, it seems like once you finish all 4 of these books, you end at roughly the same place that Mina ends you at, Genki ends you at. It's kind of the end of the beginner for the most part, plus or minus. All of these books cover what I think most of us would consider is beginner and basic. However, not all of them cover everything that all of us consider beginner or basic. Everyone has their own specialty. This one does not cover a lot of the stuff that you would encounter, obviously, traveling in Japan, because that's not the point. But it does cover most things. So, why don't we go over the format? The format of the book is very open. It does seem to be used mostly in schools, in groups, with a organized teacher. So if you're looking for a self-study, there's better books. Every chapter starts you just like this, or I should say every section starts you like this, where you have goals or tasks for what you would want to do or what you're going to be able to do by the time you finish this. Then you have a basic dialogue. It comes, as far as I've told, all the way through this, I believe. There's no kanji. It's basically all kana. So if you're looking to take all this seriously, you're going to need to also have a extra thing to learn kanji from, which is not a big deal because pretty much every textbook that I've had that teaches kanji, I think does it poorly, so I always recommend you supplement that anyways. After dialogue, you have a vocabulary list. Pretty standard, although the vocabulary that they offer is pretty small compared to a lot of other books. They also give you grammar for each single one. And the cultural notes, by the way, seem to be the largest part of each section. It takes up the most space teaching you about things in Japan. And that would make sense from a textbook that is trying to keep the attention of people learning Japanese in middle and high school. And that's the whole section. Then you're going into, lesson 1, section 2, and it's the same thing pretty much over and over and over again. However, the cool thing about this book is that it gives so many examples really well broken down. And on top of that, it gives you so much to do inside of your classroom. So you'll see here you have activities that often pop up inside the book, and it'll give you what you're supposed to do, including partner work, self-work, stuff in the class, in order to practice what was done in this section. So maybe you're just self-studying, maybe you have an anime club in high school or something like that, you don't have a teacher, and you still want to run the activities in the book. It tells you how to run these out just like a teacher would. And by the way, if you are a teacher, let's say you're beginning to teach Japanese somewhere, hey, free activity guides. I know Reddit has a lot of these for Japanese teachers and English teachers, but it doesn't hurt to have like examples of each one of these things that you're doing in kind of an organized way and work. So I think that that's a cool little value touch. If anything, for me, if I were going into teaching Japanese, really the only part of this that's super valuable to me is this. Now, this book, I would say, roughly equates to maybe a third at best of Genki 1. It is not very dense, but you can tell a third of Genki, and it covers basically the entire size. What is this, 500 pages? 300, 400 pages? The reason that this is so big compared to that is because this also includes basically its self-contained workbook, whereas Genki has an exterior workbook, although they have some work in the Genki books. I will say, just summarizing my thoughts, trying to be concise here, it has all the elements that all the other beginner books have that I see. The sections are more or less the same, the vocabulary is more or less the same. I mean, this one starts you learning Mas and then goes into dictionary forms. I think Genki starts you in dictionary forms and moves you to Mas, so you can kind of see, they all end in the same place, you know both, but they kind of start from different places. Here's the big thing though. This book is $20 more than a brand new Genki. The entire series is double the cost of Genki with its workbooks, and you actually learn, presumably, more from that series based on what I see in this book. So I'm trying to find a place in my mind where this is worth maybe $60 a book over 4 books, rather than paying $120 for everything in Genki. Like, both textbooks, both workbooks. Paying, I think it's $160 was the last time I checked for the Mina no Nihongo series. I just don't see this being worth $60. Now, if you can find this used for a reasonable price, although I know that doesn't benefit Cheng and Sui Japanese language series, this is not a bad place to go. It's not like this is a budget version of Genki. It's a more drawn out and slow version, but if you find Genki to be too quick, there's nothing wrong with this or beginner Japanese, which is a different textbook that I have reviews on. I don't think it's bad. I think that this is run-of-the-mill. It's a B-, C+ textbook. If this was $20, now you're talking like 2, 4, 6, 8, $80 for the whole series. Now you're actually competitive. $60 each. And I get why it would be $60. I mean, they're splitting it presumably 4 ways, plus the printer is going to get something for 5 ways, but dang, I cannot recommend this new if it's $60. But hey, that's just me. I know there's a lot of people that did use this in middle and high school, so if you're one of those people, please consider telling me your experience down below, and we will summarize this back in the studio. Alrighty, you guys sat through it all. Those are my thoughts. That's what I believe and think about it, but I'm sure you guys, having seen the book, maybe Googling reviews yourself, maybe you have an opinion. If you would leave that in the comment box down below, A, I personally read all of it. B, it'll help people looking into this book and to see if this is right for them. And that's what this is about, the community. If you like this video, be sure to like it down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments, feel free to leave them in the comment box down below. I do personally read all of them. I'm gonna stay light with the plugs this year just because, hey, I've had a good year and I'm lucky. But if you would like to support me for Christmas, it would mean a lot if you would purchase one of these doodaddies. I write books on Amazon. I have a link down below. That would mean a tremendous amount to me personally. The coloring books make especially good Christmas gifts, by the way. That being said, if you're subbed, you should stay for the sub-only outro. If you're not subscribed, hey, I'm so thankful you lasted this long. I hope we can become lifelong friends. Please let me live in your basement. Alright, fine. Love hard, love deep, and I'll see you, hopefully, next week. Bye-bye. Hey, thank you so much for staying after the sub-only outro. I just wanted to remind you guys again, thank you, I love you, Merry Christmas, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I don't know what else is going on this time of year. Ramadan? Whatever you celebrate, I hope you get to spend it with your family and with people who love and care about you. I will be doing the exact same thing starting December 24th of every year. I've done this every year of the channel. Until my birthday in January, I am not going to be here making videos for you. I am taking a break to spend time with my loved ones. I'll also be traveling for a bit in Russia because Japan just decided to shut down again. Haha, guess who was right? This guy. So hey, I'll be in Russia. If you're gonna be there and you see me walking around cold and confused, say hi. I'd be happy to say hi back. Otherwise, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye.